featured artist of the night. We're going to change gears and talk to Arily and Michele from Denver, Colorado. I'm getting to know her a little bit better in the green room here. So, Arily, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Good. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Yeah, been emailing with you for a few months. Thanks for showing up and being here on time and all that stuff. Makes things so much easier.
I bet it does.
So, Arily, so you said that you just started doing solo stuff over the pandemic. Otherwise, you've been in a band, which kind of went on hiatus. But I'm going to let you kind of give your little elevator pitch. If I was walking down the street and we bumped into each other and I was like, hey, and you're like, yeah, I am. And I'm like, what do you do again?
Yeah, so I'm Arily Michele. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm based in Denver, Colorado, and I definitely paid way too much attention in English class. I have a
That's where
classical
I heard
music.
that name from before.
I have a classical music degree, and it shows because a lot of my songwriting is very laden with music theory, especially the kind of Baroque styles.
That's cool.
So there's a lot of mixing old and new in my music. So like classic literature, Baroque music, plus like electronic, and then a lot of feminist themes. I'm really notorious for rewriting myths and stuff like that.
Sweet. So we'll talk a little bit more about Ophelia, your single, when we come back.
Ophelia, she hung her head in shame while she waited around for everyone, but no one ever came. Ophelia, now hang your head and weep. No one wants your bleeding heart or your wretched soul to keep. Oh, but I was almost certain that on some level he cared, judging by the way he looked at me every time he stared. But it was no more than a figment of my naivety. Wishful thinking may well someday be the end of me. Ophelia, she lay there feeling used while she begged him to reciprocate, and often he refused. Ophelia, when will you ever learn to sever every tie that binds and let the bridges burn? Oh, but I was almost certain that on some level he cared, judging by the way he looked at me every time he stared. But it was no more than a figment of my naivety. Wishful thinking may well someday be the end of me.
Indie Music Live, episode 233. This is where we get deeper with Dave, but he's not here, so it's Joe and Arily. So
Yep.
Arily and I we're talking in the green room here. We actually have a lot in common as far as like music and school and all that stuff. Classical music. I was trained in classical, growing up and stuff, and I teach classical and stuff now. So like, I think I can hear that in your music now that we
Yeah.
talked about that more for sure. Like, but you have like interesting changes that really caught my ear to begin with. So like you're a composer. You said you did a lot of film scoring. You said, or you
Yeah.
were able to
I
take
took
that
a film
class and
scoring
stuff.
class.
Yeah.
I wish I
So
did a lot of film scoring. That'd be really cool.
so you have it's really cool. It's really great when we have people that actually have music degrees on here and are really trained. So like I can tell that now, definitely.
Yeah.
So we don't know much about you. So, just give us like a little tell us more about you.
Yeah, for sure. So I studied music at Florida State. I was a vocal major, and I kind of bounced between a lot of different majors, and I ended up just getting a BA in music because I liked the flexibility that I had. So I took some film scoring classes, some vocal ped classes, some music ed classes, stuff like that. Because I was originally planning on teaching, but I ended up like steering away from that. I was really rebellious in my music theory classes. I would get in trouble a lot for writing like a major chord and then that same chord but in minor, um, or like writing diminished chords. And like my teachers would be like, "You can't do that," and I was like, "Why not? I do what I want." Like, so I do that a lot
But
with
you
my
have to learn the
music.
rules, though.
Right. So like I think Ophelia has a couple diminished chords in there because I'm just
Uh-huh.
like, whatever, I do what I want. Like,
Yeah, no. Yeah, yep,
so
it's catches the ear really quick,
yeah.
especially the first change in the song. So like you were in a band before the pandemic, and you said you guys took a hiatus, obviously, which most bands did over the time. Are you guys an original band?
Yes. So yeah, we write all original songs. So some of them were like from our guitarist's repertoire. Like he had like a solo project before we started the band. So some of the songs are from that, and then a lot of the songs are songs that I wrote when I was in college.
Yeah, cool. So so when the pandemic happened, you said you got bored and you were gonna write a couple of songs, and then it ended up being a whole album. And you have a producer. Is the producer involved in the band as well, or is that somebody you found on the side? Or
That was somebody I found on the side. Yeah, basically, I had planned on doing an EP when I first moved to Denver. So I had like 6 or 7 songs written out, and I had tried to produce it myself, and I just couldn't. And then over the pandemic, I wrote a few more songs, or I like, at least I revised a few of the songs that I had already written, and it turned into a 10-song album. So I found a producer at Funky Bear Studio over in Evergreen. His name is Orkin. He's great. He is another like kind of classically trained guy. He went to Berklee College of Music. That's where he learned like audio production.
cool.
So we worked really, really well together. And he did such a great job on the whole thing.
Yeah, it's
I
definitely high
agree.
quality. I mean, we get tons and tons of submissions, and I'm the one that's sort of in the front lines, manning the emails every day, I guess. And
Yeah.
I'll shove them away, and then I like once a week just go through all my emails, and like I think you're one of the ones that I emailed back right away to get as a featured artist because it just stood out so much. So, what's the name of your album? Is it Ophelia?
It's echolalia.
Okay,
Yeah. So
fancy
I'm
words
gonna
here. I don't know.
Yeah, so I did a psych minor in college, and I used to work with autistic children, and echolalia was a word that I heard a lot. And so kind of like the overarching theme of the album was like kind of echoing a lot of my influences, echoing a lot of my education, and then also echoing a lot of my experiences and kind of relating them to things that were already written. So I thought it was a really cool sounding name for an album, but yeah, I
Is that
definitely
is that something that autistic people do? Is like echo or something? Is that
Yeah, so it's common in autistic children, but it's also a lot of how humans learn how to talk.
okay? Yeah,
So
okay.
for it's just the tendency to like echo things that you hear.
Uh
So
huh.
if somebody says something or like makes a sound, you kind of repeat it, and that's how you learn to.
Okay. I didn't know that's what that was called. Yeah, that's
Yeah, so I chose that name too because that was how I started learning music was so I would listen to the radio and then
hmm
a song would get stuck in my head and I would play it on my mom's little Yamaha keyboard when I got
hmm
home. And so a lot of that ear training was really
absolutely.
quintessential to my music education.
It is to everybody's. So
Yeah.
Ophelia, tell me a little. Well, who's Ophelia? Is she cool or I don't know? I didn't pay attention to music
I
class. I
hope she
barely
is.
passed, honestly.
Ophelia is kind of about my experiences. Um, I kind of took this idea of like a young girl who is kind of thrown to the wolves, so to speak. She's at the mercy of the men in her life. And so I was having a lot of issues with recovering from some really unhealthy relationships and stuff like that. And I was working in kind of a chauvinist work environment. I worked in finance and I hated it. They basically wanted me to be a really expensive decoration. It was so lame. So
Good way to put it,
um,
I guess.
I stumbled across this phenomenon called Ophelia syndrome, where basically people romanticize things to the point where they become really depressed, almost psychotic, even.
Hmm.
And I kind of tied that back with like the myth, or not the myth, the character in Hamlet, who she's in love with Hamlet, obviously, but he kind of destroys her life And I wanted to kind of retell her story and make it a little bit more empowering, give her a little bit more of a happy ending. So instead of tragically drowning at the end of the story, she takes
Oh, you
control.
ruined it for me. Okay.
Sorry, spoiler alert. um, but instead of drowning at the end, she takes control over her life and decides to be happy. Is kind of the idea behind the song.
That's very cool. That's very thoughtful music. I don't write music like that. That's cool. I could never think that much, honestly, but that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, so where do you see? I mean, obviously, you said the band's gonna be getting back together. You know, the band's getting back together. They're gonna, and you guys are gonna hopefully be playing out live again, I'm sure, and stuff like that. Are you gonna continue with your thing too? Are you gonna have the band back you up? Or what do you think's gonna happen in the next
Yeah,
year?
I think I booked a couple of solo shows, so I do definitely plan on continuing with my solo stuff, mostly because my solo music is a little bit different than what I do with the band. I already have plans for a second album because I'm crazy like that. But yeah, the band is the boys are back in town. We're getting back together, and we got a couple shows booked as well. So kind of what the plan is if we need to fill a set, we'll probably use some of my solo stuff as well, and
Cool.
then some of the guitarist's solo stuff that he did during the pandemic too.
Nice. Sweet. So let's see. Where can people find you on social media?
So I'm on Instagram at Arily Michele. That's Michelle with one L.
Yeah, I
I'm
had to
on
double check
Facebook.
that earlier.
Yes. Facebook, same thing. I'm on TikTok now. I posted like one thing. So follow me there if you want. It's all the same username.
Sweet. Cool. So thanks for hanging out with us. It's a little weird for me because, like I said, Dave normally does this. So, but I think we made it, right? Everything's all right. I asked some cool questions, right?
Yeah,
All right,
only a
good.
little bit of some fires to put out. Just kidding. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of
Yeah, my
fun.
pleasure. Again, thanks for showing up and being on time and all that stuff.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
so here's my Dave impression. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next song.